This is Jablam Hockey with your hosts, Peter Wojcicki and Paul Swinbeck. Welcome to Jablam Hockey, folks. I'm your host, Peter Wojcicki. You can find me on Twitter at Russian98, and I'm with
Paul Zwambag. You can find me on Twitter at Zwambag, Zwambag. How's it going, everybody? Peter, what's up?
Well, I'm glad we're doing this podcast. We've been very busy. You've been busy with babies and things, and I've been busy watching every single freaking minute of NHL playoff action.
Yeah, I saw your two TVs set up down in your basement.
Yes,
that's pretty stellar.
I usually have some maybe even online action, especially last year when I had the free preview for Game Center, and that was great. So it had two laptops going with the two TVs in the background. That was great. But this time I recorded every single moment in case I missed some because, again, I had a little get-together with the boys on Friday night to watch the games, and I got my Caps and Flyers game. I got my Panthers and Islanders game, but I didn't get, which was, in my opinion, one of the best matchups in the first round, at least most exciting for goals. I didn't get my Wild and Stars matchup. So as soon as I knew I recorded it, and a day and a half later, I watched it, and the last two games especially were outstanding. Game 5 and 6, I believe. Oh, man. Just bonanza. Goal bonanza.
Yeah, the Stars basically just stopped playing defense and was like, I'm just going to outscore you guys. Like, if you score 5,
Go ahead.
If you score 5, I'm scoring 6. Basically, Dallas Stars game plan, and that's probably the game plan the rest of the year.
That's been their game plan since day one, I think.
Yeah.
They do not play defense, and we will get more into them when we team ISO the Dallas Stars, and we'll also be team ISOing the Washington Capitals. What else do we have this episode? We're going to do part 1 of the season awards. We're also going to be rounding up the first round. There's one more game left tomorrow as we record this on Tuesday night, which is really weird. We'll talk about the schedule as well. And we're also going to do Jablam Junior Hockey Playoff update. Paul will give that to us. All right, let's get into the show first. Again, if you haven't gone, go out to our website, jablamhockey.com. We're there. And again, please subscribe, rate, and review us with our podcast on iTunes and everything. Please do that. All right. First off, Paul knows I love to talk about it. Suspensions! Yay! So Braden Shen gets 3 games for a headshot, basically, to TJ Oshie. Are you shocked, Paul?
Yeah, kinda. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's 3 games in the new year, so I'm not sure it's going to really affect.
That's my opinion. I don't think he would have got anything. Maybe 1 game if the Flyers were still in the playoffs. It was even very weird. There was a long delay. It was like almost 2.5 days before they even said, "Oh, we're going to review it."
Yeah.
It was very odd. And then I said, as soon as I heard they're going to review it, I said, oh, he's going to get a couple of games because it doesn't matter. It's not playoff hockey, and it's the beginning of next season. So, yeah, that's what I think about that. And again, it's not playoff games, so it doesn't matter. It could be as many games as they want. In my opinion, why not make it 5 games or more,
Yeah.
Because it's just the beginning of the season. So, oh well. Again, if it was a playoff, if they were still in, it would probably have been 1 game, or maybe nothing.
Probably nothing.
Yeah, probably. All right, what do you have for us going in the World Championships in junior hockey?
The World Championships, a lot of guys are heading over there. Derek Brassard just got added to Team Canada, so that's pretty exciting.
Nice.
As for the Finnish Liga, a bunch of their guys are going to be eventually going, but the Finnish Liga, what's his name? Patrick Laine just won the MVP for his team, the Tappara Tampere.
Nice.
Yeah, 18 playoff games, 10 goals, 15 points. This kid can shoot a puck. Probably one of the
He
best
is.
releases in the draft this year.
So do you still think he's above Puljujärvi?
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's two, maybe even one. Really depends on who gets that number one pick for the draft lottery. Because if they you don't need a centerman, these guys are playing wings. So the two Finnish kids are wingers. So if
So
you,
you think if the Oilers win it, they might go with Line?
yeah, they might.
Wow, I'd be shocked. In my opinion, just because they're North American teams, I'd be shocked if nobody takes Matthews first overall.
Uh, just because of he's a centerman, and if
Yeah,
you already have your two center pivots, like the Oilers are stacked up to
yeah,
center, so they have more
they
than
could
enough
trade one.
guys. Yeah, but they still would have
Hmm.
a lot of guys with Draisaitl and McDavid if they were to get rid of Nugent and Hopkins, or keep
Even if they get
Hopkins and
rid
get
of
rid
him.
of Draisaitl. Like
Hmm.
then I think they would go with a winger, big time. But then a team like the Leafs who need the center pivot, like that number
Yeah,
one center guy, they're going Austin Matthews.
yeah, and if they drop down, maybe Puljujärvi third.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. We'll see what happens. And again, what? So Finland also won. What was it? The under 18s?
the
What
under
was it?
18s, yeah,
Or
they
under 20s?
which is
Yeah.
crazy because Canada beat Finland in their group play,
Hmm.
but then Canada lost to Sweden and then they lost in the bronze medal, so we finished fourth. Not a very good showing. Tyson Jost, a draft eligible this year, has looked really great. He led the tournament in scoring.
Did he
But
break a record or something? Or like
uh,
he was like way up there?
yeah, I think he broke McDavid's record from a couple of years
Hmm.
ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But
So
Puljujärvi showed up and just dominated, just took over every game he played in. I think he showed up for Team Canada's game, the last group game, and then all the playoff games, the two or three they play, and he just dominated. He was unbelievable. He's so much
yeah, I
bigger.
don't know.
Like, he's such a big dude.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Puljujärvi, so I'll be following his career no matter where he goes. And if the Leafs drop, I would be fine with drafting him. So, all right. Well, that leads us into if everybody wants to check it out, this Saturday, 7 p.m. is the draft lottery. Check that out. But the weird thing is with the whole NHL schedules, is this the first time ever that this has happened that the second round is starting before the first round ends? Is this like NBA playoffs or something?
Yeah, I
The
know.
it's the tomorrow Wednesday, or you guys are going to be listening to me probably the podcast tomorrow on Wednesday. The Lightning and the Islanders are playing at 7 p.m. and then the Ducks in Nashville and the Preds are playing at 10 p.m. I don't know. It's just odd. I always thought, okay, Thursday is going to be the next round, but now I guess something maybe scheduling conflicts or whatever, and maybe something's going on in the Amalie Arena in Tampa Bay that they need to play it that early.
I have a
But it's
feeling it
very
has to do with Brooklyn Center. Brooklyn Center is always packed with concerts and events that I think it probably has more to do with the Brooklyn Center being booked
so they
over.
have to shift the series a little 1 or 2 days early then.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's my
Maybe.
guess. But I think Bob McKenzie tweeted out it since like the 80s that this has happened. Last time it's
Yeah,
happened where it's been,
I can't recall it.
yeah, it's been a long time. So
So yeah, and that also is the Pittsburgh Penguins are at the Caps. Their game one is Thursday, and of course, game two will be after the draft lottery on Saturday night.
yeah,
So
Sportsnet's really trying to hit up the hockey night in Canada and get all the Canadian team fans watching and try to keep watching for Penguins Capitals. That's going to be a big audience for Saturday night.
it's gonna it's gonna be huge. The rivalry of Sid and Ovi again. We haven't seen this in the playoffs since 2009, and I still remember to this day. What was it? 4 goals for each of them in
Yeah,
that one game.
it was bonkers. It was so much fun.
Oh my god, that was great. I hope the goaltending's horrible again. But how can it be the way Matt Murray is playing and the way Holtby is playing?
Yeah,
Maybe not.
it's going to be a crazy series.
It's going to be great. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later in the episode. And last but not least, Radulov maybe returning to the NHL, which is kind of odd because they were questioning him and his agent and stuff, and he's kind of more interested in going to contender type teams like a Detroit, like I think Elliot Friedman tweeted out, like a Detroit, a Florida, or Washington, and he doesn't care so much about how much he's getting paid. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like Alexander Radulov.
The old version of him, yeah. So
Yeah.
it'd be pretty cool if he can join up with a team for $2 million, and if he goes on a team like Washington or something, wow.
He should have just stayed with Nashville. They kind of turned it around.
Especially the way they're playing right now.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
But, I think it was also the system there, and the system was always defense first.
Yeah.
And it's kind of shifting now, and he probably didn't see that happening, right? So,
yeah.
So it'll be pretty interesting if he can join a team because he's still offensively gifted. So he'll be for sure like at least, maybe a second line winger for a team. So
it definitely brings a lot.
For any team.
Yeah, it definitely puts a big name in the free agency, which there's not very big names this year, so that'll be exciting.
All right, let's go right into it. First off, we're Team Ice Wing, the Dallas Stars. You know what? I had the Stars at the beginning of the season because of the additions. I had them going into maybe second or third in that Central Division. But they've added that right talent in the last 2-3 years. Sharp, Oduya, Niemi, just recently. And it begins and ends, of course, like what we said, with offense. Even their best defensemen, Goligoski and Klingberg, are offensive defensemen. I don't even think they know how to spell defense, these guys.
Yeah.
Do they, Paul?
I don't think so. They just like to move the puck up the ice and rush in with it, and yeah, they are offense first for sure.
Yeah. Who had the most goals in the first round? Do you know?
Oh, no, I don't know.
It was the Dallas Stars, obviously. I think your Pens tied with them for 21 or 20
I was going to say the Penguins
goals.
are scoring.
They were good too, and of
goals,
course they had one game less. But, with who they played against and how well the Wild were actually pretty good, especially defensively, the Stars just dominating offensively again during the season and also in the playoffs. And even more amazing is they've done it without one of the best offensive forwards in the NHL, Tyler Seguin.
Yeah.
I think he played the second game. It seemed like they rushed him almost, right?
Yeah. I
and
think
he wasn't ready.
He came back a little too quickly.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a setback. But Jamie Benn is a beast, and the rest of their guys, they go down the list. Those guys on defense, Spezza, Sharp, just too many offensive weapons. These guys are solid.
Yeah, and they picked up the Chicago Blackhawks guys that know how to win and bring a winning mentality to the dressing room. That's just a huge upgrade.
Yep, just strong talent, and that Stanley Cup experience is huge.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into what do they have on tap for some prospects?
Brett Ritchie's probably their number one. He's second round pick 2011, so he's been developing down in the AHL for quite a few years. He played 8 games this year in Dallas, but in the AHL he had 35 games, 28 points in those 35. So he's a right winger. He's definitely going to be in the NHL next year. Pretty sure he got into some playoff games as well this first round. Jason Dickinson just joined the Stars at the end of the regular season, played a few games, scored his first NHL goal in his first NHL game. He's a first-round 29th pick, so he's going to be a pretty decent player. On the back end, Julius Honka is just he sounds like his name. He's a big guy. 73 games in the AHL with the Texas Stars for 44 points in those 73 games. He's a first-round 14th pick. Stephen Johns, he was traded from Chicago.
He's already there.
Yeah, and he's already playing big-time minutes, so that's awesome to see. Their goaltending is the interesting part. They went out and got Lettinen and Niemi and built their dual goaltending, and kind of isn't really working out in the first round. They've kind of gone back and forth. But then there's Philip DeRosier. He played most of his season in the ECHL and then 10 games in the AHL. And split the time with, you might remember this name, Peter, Jack Campbell. What
Oh
happened to
yeah,
that
still
guy?
around?
Yeah, like he's half and half playing in ECHL, AHL this year.
Wow.
He was a top prospect in World Juniors when
Yeah,
he played for Team America. Like that,
he was supposed to be the next big thing.
yeah. Will he be an NHL goaltender ever?
We've had so many that have, had a lot of hype around them and then couldn't pull it through. So we'll see.
Yeah, like I know goaltending takes a long time to develop, but 2010 first round pick, 11th overall. So
Yeah,
he
it's been a while.
and goalies don't get picked high anymore. Like he's one of the few in
Yeah,
the past probably 6, 7 drafts that have gone just out of the top 10. So
yeah,
I don't know if he will be in NHL. If they keep letting in Yemi, there's no way he's gonna crack that roster. So very very
yeah. Not
interesting
anytime soon.
goalie prospects that just haven't really panned out for the Stars.
Yeah. So how good do you think Brett Ritchie could be? Is he a first line guy or is he a second line guy?
I
I
think
don't
he's
know.
more of a
He's a bit
second
of a
line guy.
power forward, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like
Yeah.
a Jamie Benn power forward, but yeah, he's
Mhm.
got to put on some size to become that dominant power forward. But I would say top six. I wouldn't
Yeah.
guarantee a
Yeah.
top line, but yeah, top six winger for sure.
Cool. All right. The next question would be is how well do the Stars match up against a defensive two-way team like the Blues?
Yeah, this
We'll
is gonna
talk
be
more about that when we get into the matchups,
all
though.
right. Cool.
Let's go right next into the Washington Capitals team ISO. Pretty much the same here. I had the Caps winning the conference, but they destroyed the conference. They destroyed the NHL this year.
Yeah,
They were outstanding.
and
There's no. Go ahead.
they weren't even playing good hockey from December on, like Backstrom said, and we keep making fun of. That's just ridiculous.
It's outstanding. You know what? I actually thought they were going to be really good last year too, and go far when they added Niskanen and Orpik. But then they went and added in the offseason Justin Game 7 Williams and TJ Don't Call Me Anymore Sochi to their offensive depth, which is outstanding. And again, the emergence of Orlov on the back end and Kuznetsov on the front end. They're a huge powerhouse threat, not only to win it just this year, but I think for a few years. They aren't in cap hell like other teams.
Yeah,
I think only Johansson and Orlov are guys that may need a slight raise in the offseason, unlike a team like the Lightning, who's going to need a lot of space and probably won't be able to sign Stamkos. So I don't know. I like the Caps this year. I said that I thought they would go to the finals, and I still think they will. But they look like they're good for at least a few more years right now.
yeah.
So even if the Pens do beat them, they still look good for the next 3-4 years. So this team is outstanding.
Yeah, they just need to get over that playoff slump that they seem to fall into. Second round, they just can't make it out of. So hopefully the
And again,
Penguins
I
can
think,
keep that going.
like I said, I think this is probably going to go 7 games this series. And then they have a guy named Justin Williams who likes to score a lot of goals in that number game 7. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk a little bit more about that with that matchup as well. But what do you have for prospects?
They definitely draft a lot of Russian questionable players that end up
And
being really good. Like Kuznetsov
yeah,
was such a question mark in the draft that they have another guy, Stanislav Galiev, that they never really were
Elliott.
sure if he was going to stay in the KHL or not. And Washington has some, I'm pretty sure it's because of Ovechkin, but they're
Yeah.
able to get these young kids to come over and buy into the NHL, which not a lot of teams can do. A lot of teams stay away from the Russian guys. So Stanislav Galiev, third round, 86 pick, he definitely went late in 2010, later than what he should have because of that Russian KHL warning
Mm-hmm.
sign. He's been a healthy scratch some of the year with the Caps. He played 24 games and played most of that time with Backstrom. So in the future, he's definitely going to get more time, and he's going to get more time with Backstrom, which is just going to be huge for Galiev. Another guy, Jacob Vrana, he's first round 13th pick. 38 games played in the AHL, 34 points. So that's pretty good clip for an AHL player. And he's a
Yeah.
right winger, so they got a ton of wingers coming in that are going to be NHL ready within a year or two. On the back end, Madison Bowie, you probably remember him from World
Yeah.
Juniors a
Bowie,
couple
yeah.
of years ago.
He was juniors.
Uh,
Yep.
70 games played this year, 29 points, but before that, his last 2 years in the WHL for Kelowna Rockets, 60-point seasons each. So this guy can put up points. It's going to be scary when they get him with like Carlson or Alsner or Orpik or Niskanen. Like he probably won't be in the NHL next year. It'll probably be another 2 years, but that's just because defensemen take so much longer to come along. Their goalie depth is remarkable. Philip Grubauer is a great backup for Holtby. 16 games started. He was 8-9-1, which isn't really great for the team he was playing for, but he had a good year the year before that. And then Ilya Samsonov, they used a 22nd pick in 2015 for this kid. I think he's a long-term project, and not by project like he needs to develop more. He definitely has a great game, but I think he's just going to stay in the KHL for a while. Played in the finals of the Gagarin Cup and won the Gagarin Cup with Metallurg Magnitogorsk.
Yes.
Quick
My
trivia,
team.
Peter.
Yeah.
Gagarin Cup. What is the Gagarin Cup?
The Gagarin Cup is the cup for the winner of the KHL, and of course named for the first Russian astronaut that landed on the moon, I believe.
Excellent. Good trivia,
You're
Peter.
asking me for my history, my Russian heritage from my grandfather.
Oh,
Of course I'm going to know these things.
Just wanted to make sure you knew. Was also throwing out maybe a softball for you to make you sound good for our listeners. And all our listeners are like, oh my god, Peter knows stuff. So there you go,
Yeah.
Peter.
I do know some stuff. You know what was really good? I watched Jeopardy yesterday. I knew half the answers, but I think it was a softball kind of day. Whereas then today I came and knew only like 5 answers.
Was it like
That's
elementary school kids up there?
No. It was regular people, but it was just odd. There's some really weird things, like JV was one of the topics, so I quickly figured out joint venture would have been one of the answers. Joie de vivre would have been one of the answers, and then there was sports and movies, and that was easy. So, but anyways, getting back on topic, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Caps when we get into the roundups. But first, we're going to go with part one of our season awards. We're going to do some of them today because, Paul, you were saying some of them are going to be announced tomorrow?
Yeah, the Vezina is getting announced tomorrow, and then that will be getting announced Thursday, maybe?
Okay, yeah, all right, Thursday then.
Yeah,
all right,
so we wanted to get them in before they get announced.
Perfect. We're going to give you our noms right now and what we picked and for part one, and then the rest of them we're going to do next episode. So let's get into it. First one is the Vezina for the best goalie in the NHL. What are your nominations, Paul? Who do you have your top 3 for?
My top 3 are going to be Holtby, obviously number 1. He's just been dominant. Has the win record for most in a regular season. Then Crawford, then Brian Elliott. Surprise pick, Brian Elliott.
Wow. How many games has he played? That's, to me, again, that matters to me. If he hasn't played more than 45 games, I'm not going to nominate him.
Okay, well, you make your nominations and I'll come up with how many
my
games.
Noms. My noms, again, same thing. Braden Holtby, above and beyond. He's got to win this award. He should be nominated even for MVP this year. But he should win easily, by far the best goalie this year. And the other two is Corey Crawford, who's had a really solid season. And again, another guy who's still underrated, Ben Bishop. He has great stats, and he was really good in the first round, too. And he could take Tampa far, minus Stamkos and Stralman and some young defensemen. So he's doing a really good job. But again, Braden Holtby takes it all the way. Did you see how many games played Elliott has?
Yes, 42.
Ooh,
and had 23 wins. I don't
Yeah,
know why I
but yeah,
picked it.
his numbers
Yeah, I'm looking at
great
his number.
defense,
Yeah, his save percentage is unreal.
outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and him getting like 15 bajillion shutouts at the end of the season really helped.
Yeah, he's got 4 to end the season, 930 save percentage and 2.07 goals against average. So,
Outstanding.
yeah.
All right. And then next we're getting to is the Frank Selke Award, and that's for best defensive forward. And I go into it depth. I check out teams that are doing really well on the penalty kill, how much ice time they're getting on the penalty kill, as well as how good they're doing that, including again face-offs, percentages, blocking shots. And my noms are Anze Kopitar, Patrice Bergeron, and Ryan Kessler. And it's a toss-up. All three are really good, but I'm gonna go with Ryan Kessler just because how good Anaheim plays in the penalty kill, and he's such a leader and dominant in that factor. You, Paul?
I'm going to go with my top 3, Jonathan Toews, Ryan Kessler, and then Jordan Staal. Kind of a homer pick for Jordan Staal. Yeah, I love my Jordan Staal. So, but yeah, he's definitely a defensive forward, so I like him in that pick.
And you're good with that pick too because Carolina was actually a really good penalty killing team this year.
Yeah,
I noticed when I was looking. So who do you like out of those 3 to win it?
I think Kessler's going to win it. I really do.
Yeah, I like Kessler as well in there. All right, and then we move to the Lady Byng Award. It's, again, the penalty, the one where people mostly look at, again, it's more sportsman-like, but again, usually look at it as a guy who's putting up a lot of points, playing really well, getting a lot of ice time, but has very few penalty minutes. Who do you have, Paul?
I have Ryan O'Reilly winning it for his second time ever. He won it in 2013-14, so I think he's going to win it with 8 penalty minutes. That's pretty impressive, and he's a guy that people think is a power forward, but I think
we were talking about this earlier. That's why you mentioned it. I every time I see him, he looks like he drives to the net a lot, and he's a bit more of a power forward type, in my opinion. Maybe I don't watch him as much, but he just seems that way, and that's pretty good that he doesn't make that many penalties.
Yeah, and Tyler Seguin is my number 2 with 12 penalty minutes and top 5 in scoring, so that's impressive. And Alexander Barkov, Sasha, gets only 8 penalty minutes this year, so I think he deserves a nomination.
That's pretty good. All right, I went with a guy that I like is Louis Eriksson. 63 points, 30 goals. So he's killing it with goals and only 12 penalty minutes. That's outstanding, in my opinion. Points per penalty minutes, he's amazing. And again, 30 goals, just outstanding. And then the other 2, and I think you said Tyler Seguin had 12, but he really had 16.
Oh.
And both him and Anze Kopitar had 73 and 74 points and both 16 penalty minutes. They're just putting up a lot of points and very few penalty minutes. And again, I go more with a lot more points versus the penalty minutes. And it's kind of weird because we were looking at this and we were talking about earlier. Last year, there seemed to be more guys with fewer penalty minutes that are way up there, though, like a Pavel Datsyuk and so on and so forth, that had many more guys that were under 20 penalty minutes. But, it was, again, out of these 3 guys, though, it's a tough call. It's a toss-up for me almost.
Yeah, and I've got a dark horse for you, Peter. A dark horse pick.
All right.
John Carlson. 14 penalty minutes on the year. Yeah. Who's the last defenseman to win the Lady Byng, Peter?
Is it Brian Campbell?
It is Brian Campbell. Your man, Brian Campbell.
Yep. I remember that. It was only 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, 11-12 season.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I remember when he won that, and I was like, wow. It was amazing because he actually had fewer penalty minutes than everybody else.
Yeah, he had 6 penalty minutes on the year. Yeah. So
again, like I said, this is a bit of an odd year. There was a lot more penalty minutes, especially for the top players. So, like, even I don't know, does Sid usually get like over 40 penalty minutes?
Yeah,
I don't know.
he normally does. Yeah,
So I don't know. It just seemed like more. Even I don't know. I don't know. It just did seem like more. Even Joe Thornton had like almost 60 penalty minutes. Seemed like a little bit higher than usual. But
yeah.
anyways, let's get in. Go ahead.
That's probably them just calling for more power plays and more scoring and all that good stuff. So I
Yeah,
think that
I think
has a
that's
lot to
kind
do
of
with
what it
it.
was. All right, and last but not least, the Norris Trophy. We're going to talk about. We're going to give you our nominees, but we'll also do, as we like to call it, the Bobby Orr Trophy. So we're going to split the two: the Norris for best defensive defenseman, and the Bobby Orr for best offensive defenseman. I'll go first, and we'll do best defensive defenseman. My three noms were Drew Doughty, Roman Yoshi, and Francois Beauchemin. Again, penalty minutes, how often they play on the PK, and how good their PK percentages, as well as blocking shots and killing time, and even ice time, actual ice time that they get. If they get a lot of ice time and they're doing well and their plus minus is good, they're very good defensive players in my opinion. And these three are all very good at that, but especially Drew Doughty. Drew Doughty takes the cake. He is above and beyond amazing on both sides of the ice.
Yeah, he's my number one for Norris Trophy. My number two is Ryan Suter, and my number
Mm-hmm.
three is Brian Campbell. He had a
Yep, Campbell was good
unbelievable
as well.
plus minus, and those three guys are the pretty sure the leaders of time on ice. They're just always up there.
Yep,
Ryan Suter deserves it because he plays more than half the time on half the game for the Wild. So yeah,
yep,
but yeah, Doughty definitely gets it. Like if they need to make this an offense and a defensive trophy big time
yeah,
because Doughty's never going to win it over Carlson. That's just too bad for
yeah.
Doughty.
And if Carlson has a bad season or he's injured a bit, then it's going to be a PK Subban or Brian Burnsy, you know.
Yeah,
So it's tough for Doughty to get a Norris if they're always going to lean on more of the offensive stats.
yeah,
But like my nominations, even Yoshi and Beauchemin and even Doughty, they have a lot of intangibles that you don't even look at with blocking shots
yeah,
and takeaways, as well as a lot of PK ice time and stuff. So good for them, and they deserve to have a defensive award out there as well as the offensive defenseman.
yeah.
So we'll get into our Bobby Orr Award. And what are your noms?
Eric Carlson, number one. That's a pretty easy pick. Led the league, led the defenseman in scoring. Chris Letang and Brent Burns, the top three defensive scorers. So those are my three picks.
Same here. All three, obviously, right up there in points. And Carlson is just that step ahead of them. Even Brent Burns, amazing. I was even telling you, I watched a bit of the playoff series, and he's looked good. But the few games down the stretch, I was watching San Jose. Man, he is shifty. He looks like a bigger guy at Burns, but his angles and his skating ability is top notch. I can't say it's that much further down than a Kane or a Crosby. He is outstanding, especially for a defenseman. But again, he's a bit of a rover type guy, a guy that used to be a forward. He's outstanding. His skating ability is amazing.
Yeah.
So, but again, Carlson, offensive defenseman, he's great. And those are part one of our season awards. We've given you our noms and our winners. We're going to post that as well on our Facebook group, as well as probably our website, jablamhockey.com. And again, check out Jablam Hockey on Facebook.
Yeah, and the dates that they're nominating, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Wednesday is Vesna, Thursday is Selke, Friday Norris, Saturday Lady Bing. So those are the next four that we just talked about. Or the next 4 days.
And again, and we'll have our part two next episode.
Yeah.
All right, let's go right into playoffs and playoff roundup. First round, was there really a series that you didn't expect was going to be as good, Paul?
That wasn't as good. No, the first round is just always unbelievable. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to introduce hockey to a new fan, make them watch the first 2 weeks of playoff hockey. Like, just tell them to take 2 weeks off of work and watch hockey at night. It's just unbelievable how intense the games get, and like right off the bat, they're intense. I don't think there was a series I didn't enjoy watching.
Yeah, like even like I don't think a lot of people saw the Florida Panthers and the New York Islanders series. They didn't. That was on the back burner, but that was such a tight series. Again, I got to give it to the Islanders, and we were talking about it before. We both didn't pick the Islanders because they were so sluggish and they didn't follow the coach's system the last month and a half, 2 months. Halak went down, and they weren't playing well in front of Grace, but they worked their butts off that entire series against the Panthers. And again, that slight edge of winning, I think they won 3 out of their 4 games all in overtime, right?
Yeah, they were all overtime games.
So that's killer, especially because I was going for Florida. I picked them in my pool. I picked the old guys. Paul's making fun of my pool picks because they're all old. I had Yager, I had Campbell, I had Luongo. I wanted Holtby, but again, he was taken first round, so I had to go with my backup and just take Luongo at the end. But yeah, the Panthers are a bit older, especially those guys, and even Luongo, you could tell he looked a little bit sluggish as the game wore on into overtime. He was still good, but just not brilliant enough to stop a guy like JT John Tavares. He was insanely good.
Yeah, Captain Clutch, big time. Like he carried that team definitely. And the Luongo, he said after like game 3 that he was tired. Like, I'm just exhausted. And they played a back-to-back. The first 2 games were back-to-back nights, and that I think killed Luongo, that killed Yager, that killed Campbell. Like, those old guys, just back-to-back playoff games is so intense that I think it just really affected the Panthers, and those overtime games just they're backbreakers.
They had so many overtime games.
Yeah.
And then it was like they were basically playing 9 games that series with how much OT action they had. It was outstanding action. It was intense. Just my team was on the wrong part of it by cheering for the Panthers, but it was a great series. It was really tight. But again, the Panthers have more of a regular season type play, more of a cycle game. Like, I can't say Yager was bad or anything. It's just he plays more of that cycle game, and nobody was driving to the net except for Riley Smith on the Panthers, especially earlier in the series. Again, as the series wore on, I think he was, bruised up a lot, especially the way the Islanders play. Matt Martin and Clutterbuck, they're demolishing hits every single moment they're on the ice. Breaks down a team as you get to Game 4, Game 5, Game 6, double overtimes.
Yeah.
So it was a great series. So, and good for the Islanders, and they're going to move on to face the Tampa Bay Lightning, which I didn't see this coming at all. Was probably one of the roughest series out of all of them in the first round.
It got dirty quick. Just
yeah. Abdelkader took this series to a next level. It was outstanding. From the time the puck dropped, I think there wasn't any moment there was a big scrum in front of any crease for the duration of the entire series.
Yeah, and I think just from everything got rekindled from the year before. They matched up the year before, and I don't think anybody really played into that with their analysis or anything. So and the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think we put a lot of stock in Stamkos and Strawman being out, and Ben Bishop he carried the team, and Kucherov, Johnson found their chemistry again, their playoff chemistry, and just turned it on. And they look like a team that could go deep again.
I did not know Kucherov has one of the best wrist shots in the NHL. In one game alone, I think one period alone, he had 3 posts in one period on top of the goals that he had in the one game. Outstanding. And then there's this guy, Killorn, who has how many beautiful deflection goals or something in this series?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. All of his goals were beautiful deflection goals or something in front of the net. he must be practicing them a lot because they were great and they were well needed for his Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, and like Kucherov's only 22. Like
Yep.
he's showing the Tampa Bay Lightning brass that they don't need to re-sign Stamkos. Like
They
he's their
can't afford Stamkos.
yeah.
It's going to be ridiculous because I was looking at their cap and they're right up to it. They're, I think, 2 million cap space. So they can't afford Stamkos. You cannot afford him because you're going to have to re-sign. I think it's Kucherov. It's going to be Johnson next year. Killorn next year. They've got Victor Hedman. I think they've got to re-sign. Next year it's going to be Ben Bishop as well. There's guys I'm missing that I haven't mentioned. Palat maybe next year as well. Like it's going to be ridiculous how much you're going to have to pay. Right now they're paying I think Kucherov like 0.9. Next year you're going to have to pay him at least $5 million.
Yeah.
They're giving Palat and Johnson about like $3 million. They're going to have to pay these guys again at least $6 million, especially Johnson the way he's playing. So they're going to be in cap hell I think the next 2 years, figuring out who they're going to pick, who they're going to keep, and how much they're going to re-sign these guys for.
Yeah, how bad was our Atlantic bracket?
Pretty bad.
Brackets, just brutal. We X'd out pretty much all the way to conference finals.
And it's really weird because the guys in the pool, and we were laughing at them. Remember? We were doing the draft. We were laughing at my boy Joey. Sorry, Joey. He picked Stamkos. Again, he doesn't know that he's injured. Nilo picked Tampa Bay all the way. And you know why these guys picked Tampa Bay? Because 2 weeks ago, remember, Paul, I said, I have a good feeling Tampa Bay could reach the finals of the Stanley Cup Playoffs.
And Stamkos got hurt, and your whole mindset changed.
Exactly. And I was like, what am I going to do now? I totally want to go with Tampa Bay. I'll go with Caps and Tampa. And, oh, man, if I still went with them, I would have looked pretty good right now. So we'll see what happens. But the Islanders, we'll talk about this right now, but the Islanders versus Tampa at that bracket, do you give Islanders all the way, Tampa Bay all the way the favorite? Or could the Islanders win 3 or 4 games?
No, I think the Lightning are. Again, I'm not an Islanders fan. I don't know why. I'm not. I don't think Greiss can. He's proved it in the first round, but I don't think he can carry a team deep. And Ben Bishop has just been dynamite. So I think the Lightning are taking this series.
Yeah. So you got what? Lightning in 5? Lightning.
Well, I'll say 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to also go with Lightning in 5 as well. I don't know. Just the Islanders were amazingly hardworking in the first round. They've got to do that again and above to defeat these Lightning. And that first line, like I know the Islanders have Tavares, but you know, Okposo, I can't say too much about how well he is, and he's a great player, but he's not Kucherov or Killorn compared to what they've done for the Lightning so far. That top line is outstanding, and they've still got depth that haven't even woken up yet, in my opinion. There's still Filppula back there. There's still Palat, who hasn't really put up that many points, and they're going to need to be called upon at least maybe this round, but for sure next round if they make it there. That really to get further into the playoffs if they want to. But Ben Bishop is outstanding, so it's going to be tough for them.
And quick note on Stamkos: he practiced today in a red jersey, so that's going to be scary if he does come back.
And I think if they make it to the third round, he's probably going to be playing. So look out for that. All right, let's go ahead.
I just want to say the whole bracket thing, you talked about it last week about the set seeded brackets and they don't reseed. So this round coming up, it'll be 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3, 11 versus 6 or 14 because of that Wednesday night Game 7 that's still got to happen, and 10 versus 12.
You mean overall 1 to 16, yeah.
Yeah, so 10th overall is facing the 12th overall team, which is this Islanders Lightning matchup, which is just brutal. Like it should and could have been Capitals versus Islanders and Pittsburgh versus the Lightning, which would have been a little more fair to the seeding. But
like I said, that I think that makes more sense and it's more fair to the teams that are playing better. I'm not a fan as well of the way they seed it now. Again, it's better with divisional rivals. You're going to be playing more games, and they're going to be more heated, which is kind of what I think they wanted. But it's very unfair to a team like the Capitals, especially, that played their butts off, and now in the second round they got to face the Penguins, who are technically the second best team in the conference.
Yeah, second best team. Yeah,
and especially the hottest team in the NHL. I think they've lost, in my opinion, only 2 games in like the last 20 games. So it's ridiculous. So let's get into it first. The Capitals beat Philly, but it took them 6 games. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, the Flyers, they didn't play outstanding. They just played to the Washington Capitals' weaknesses. Like they didn't outshoot them ever. I don't think they shot more than 20 shots.
The Capitals outshot the Flyers in pretty much every game.
Yeah.
The two losses that they had, they way outshot them. I think at one point in one game, it was 45-11 in shots.
Yeah,
for the
just
Capitals.
crazy.
It's ridiculous. I think Neuwirth kind of saved them in this series, really.
Yeah.
He was outstanding. They couldn't beat him. And they made sure that the Capitals didn't get those second and third opportunities to score. And if you can do that against the Capitals, and if you can lessen the amount of penalties that you make so you don't let those guys get Ovi and the rest of those guys on the power play, then you can diminish a lot of the goals that they can score.
Yeah, the next series is going to be real interesting because the Penguins don't take a lot of penalties, so...
Mm-hmm. It will be pretty big. So good for the Caps, but it did take them a while to get past the Flyers. A hot goalie. So if they play a hot goalie and it's Matt Murray, it's going to be a good series to watch.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Pittsburgh beating the Rangers in only 5 games?
Yeah, and chased Lundqvist out twice. His last 2 games he played, he was chased out of the net, which is unbelievable. Like, Lundqvist is such a good goalie.
I think the whole stick in the eye thing.
Yeah.
It didn't look that bad at first, but it did distract him. I really do think. He did not look like himself in the last 2 games. Give that props to the Penguins because they're so gifted offensively, but as well, it was his defense did not cover players as well. Pittsburgh was flying. They knew where to go in those hidden pockets. And their defense did not look good. So it was very odd the way it went. And again, McDonough was pretty much banged up. I don't think he played most of the series, and when he did, he didn't look like the usual Ryan McDonough.
No, he played with a broken hand. It came out today in the press. So
that's tough for the Rangers, because if you give them a healthy Lundqvist and a healthy McDonough, Rangers are going to win at least 1 or 2 more games, at least, in my opinion. I would have won 6 or 7 games. But again, Penguins are just so offensively gifted, and Matt Murray's playing great between the pipes for them.
Yeah, I have no problem or worry that Murray's in our net over Fleury. If Fleury comes back, it's going to be a big debate. Like, if Murray plays a good series this series, it's going to be interesting if Marc-Andre Fleury can come back from his concussion. But he's having a really tough time. He's still not symptom-free, and he says it's his worst injury he's ever encountered. He doesn't, it's changing his life type thing. So it's kind of scary, but the Penguins are playing just great hockey. Like, their speed is unreal, top to bottom, in their forward lines. Just they're playing Mike Sullivan's game right now, and that's
he's coached these kids.
Yeah,
so he knows their game, and they're meshing really well. The good, fast young youth, and the veterans that can put the puck in the back of the net consistently. So this is a good mesh for them, especially among the forwards.
Yeah.
So, again, so how many games do you think the Pittsburgh Penguins will need to take out the Capitals?
I think it'll go 6.
Yeah.
I never like picking 7-game series. It's just a thing I don't...
You don't want it to go that far.
I just don't like picking 7-game series. It makes it seem like you don't really have a confidence in which team you're taking, so...
Hey.
Yeah, I know. You pick your 7-game series, and You feel like you're a winner either way when it goes 7 games. But it's in my mindset
No,
that
I wouldn't say that. But
I just don't pick 7 game series. I don't know why. I just don't.
yeah. Well, I was right with St. Louis and Chicago. Maybe I didn't pick the right team, but again, you'd have to pick Game 7 with those two teams. And I'm going to go again, Game 7 with Caps getting the edge over the Penguins. It'll be a great series, and we're going to talk more about them next episode. Sorry. Let's get into the Central. First off, it took the Stars 6 games to beat the Wild. Are you shocked at that, or no?
Not entirely. I thought it would have went 5 games, so 1 game I guess I'm pretty shocked. But Dallas they stopped playing good hockey and they're trying to outscore the team like we said earlier, and right now that's what they're doing, and I don't know if it's going to work against St. Louis.
I told you that's why I don't see Dallas going far. They're not very good defensively. They don't play a good system, in my opinion. Their goaltending, again, in my opinion, is probably one of the worst in the NHL playoffs. So I picked the Stars to win in 6. They won in 6, and I knew their defense is going to hurt them. Did you even see the last game? They had an empty net. Like, Wild came back from, like, nothing. I think it was, like, what was the score? It was, like, 3-0 or 4-0?
3-0, I think.
And then they came back. They almost tied or whatever. They had an empty net, and they're trying to score from their own end instead of easily. And they had room to take the puck out and get to the center ice lane. No, they're just throwing it at the empty net and getting icings. That's not how a team plays when you want to win a game. You're not trying to score from any angle. You're freaking trying to waste the clock. I was laughing. I'm laughing at them. These are like, what are you doing? That's what you do at the beginning of the regular season.
Yeah.
Oh, man. These Stars are hilarious. They're hilarious. I love watching them because it's so exciting and it's so random. Their defense is all over the place. It's hilarious. We'll talk more about them in a second. But yeah, their offense is way too strong, and that's why they beat the Wild. But this series, Chicago and St. Louis, another fantastic series.
Oh, start to finish, just intense, unbelievable, lots of scoring, lots of great goalie skill. Like it was a great series. I wish they could play a best of 15.
Yeah, you wish that would be the matchup that would happen maybe even later in the playoffs, just because it's so classic and so amazing. It needs to be shown more, nationally. I probably in the States, I don't know how well they show the games, but this series needs to be on every television set. It's amazing. Wow, the St. Louis Blues finally beat the Blackhawks. Congratulations, St. Louis Blues fans. A well-deserved and well-waited for. You need patience, and they beat them. So it was a great series, and even it took them to the brink. Wow. That last game, too, it was a 2-0 lead. Then the Hawks came back and 2-2. And, oh, my goodness, do you see that Seabrook shot?
Oh, post to post?
Oh, my God. And then, of course, somebody had to do the Michael Jackson crying Michael Jordan on the puck off the posts.
Yeah.
That meme that's out there, too. Oh, my God. It's ridiculous.
So, talking about empty netters earlier from your Dallas series, the Panthers-Islanders empty netter, there were so many penalties when the Panthers had that empty net and they were trying to score on the Islanders in like the last minute and a half. They basically did whatever they wanted to, the players, to take them out. I think it was Trocheck or somebody just got demolished in blue line. I think he got tripped twice, and he had an empty net. He probably could have scored. And that would have been the end of the series for the Panthers to move on. So,
Well, it would have been. They would have went to Game 7.
Oh yeah, they would have went to Game 7. Yeah, but crazy.
He got tripped, and as well, I can't recall who else is on that line. It was Riley Smith. I don't know if it was Riley Smith or maybe Jokinen. I think it was Jokinen who also got tripped as well near the front of the net. And but it was like that almost the whole entire series. It looked like the refs had the edge for the Islanders. I don't know why. And again, Florida's outlook looks good. They look like they're going to be a good team as well. And I even said at the beginning of the season, I'm surprised how well Florida played this year. But I expect it to be more of a contender in next year or probably in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they weren't playoff ready this year.
Oh, man,
sure.
so many great games.
Those penalties were really rough, that non-calls.
Yeah.
And you can go on Twitter, the media and the fans, even Islanders fans, noticed some non-calls. Calls more for the Islanders. So it's tough. It happens.
Yeah.
In this, again, Hitchcock, he's going to call out the refs a bit. Surprised he never got a fine, though. But he never really directly said, this and this call were bad. He did say more team first. We're going to have to beat the refs and the Hawks kind of thing. And they did. They won the series. So good for Hitchcock. Good for the Blues. What do you think? The Stars versus the Blues?
I think the Stars are going to have to pick up their game, and I think they're going to, and I think they will take it in 6.
Mm-hmm. I had the Hawks going to the conference finals out of this division. And it was a Game 7 because it was a toss-up. I said I think St. Louis could win. I gave the slight edge to the Hawks because they always beat the Blues. I'm going to go with the Blues on this. If they can do what they've done, if Elliott is still playing superb between the pipes, the Blues can beat the Stars as well. They're much, much better at a postseason Stanley Cup playoff action game in their experience being in big series like the Hawks, and their defensive game. It's just much better, and they still have clutch scorers that can give you goals. So we'll see what happens. If Sagan can come back, though, the Stars are going to have even more offense. So it's tough. I'm going to go with the Blues in 6.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Colton Parayko. That kid is.
Oh, he was great.
Yeah, he's going to be an awesome defenseman.
Yep, we talked about him in the first half of the season when he was killing it.
Yeah,
and he slowed down a bit, but he was still pretty good for the Blues, and he's looked great in these playoffs so far. What did you have in this series? You had Stars in
6.
6 as well. All right. Hopefully the Blues don't let up, though, because they just played a huge emotional series.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I really hate when that happens and you played a huge emotional series. Sometimes you don't have it for the next round. They need to keep going. So we'll see. All right, now let's go to the other division. We got, first off, the Ducks and the Preds, who are playing Game 7 on Wednesday night. Who's going to win the Game 7? What do you have, Paul?
I think the Ducks will win it, and I'm going to stick with the Ducks. I think they're going to go deep into the playoffs still, and I just think they'll pull it off. They switched up Gibson to Anderson, and Anderson's played well, so I think the Ducks can finish them off.
Yep, same here. The series hasn't been that exciting, Out of all of them, I have to say this series hasn't been one of the ones to really watch for.
Yeah, if you're ranking them 1 to 8 or 1, I would put it at the number 8 spot.
Yep, same here. Perry and Getzlaf, they've been good. They haven't been great. They've been good. And that's a good thing for the Ducks. They come out in big games. Wednesday night is Game 7. I'm expecting both to have big games. Even Ryan Kessler has been good. He hasn't been great. And he'll come out big. And they've got just a lot of depth. The Preds don't have that offensive scoring, experience. But Rene has played great too, though. He's played great for the Preds. So I'm going to expect the Ducks to win as well, Game 7. And we'll talk more about who they're playing next round and who could win the matchup versus the Sharks, who beat the LA Kings in 5 games, though, no less.
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with Jonathan Quick. He just did not play well.
A lot of Kings didn't play well.
Yeah.
But Quick looked like he was out of place all the time. He kept on overplaying the angles And if you put yourself on the top left of your crease and that puck goes off the boards or it takes a deflection, you have no chance at making the save on the other side. Yes, Jonathan Quick is quick. He's one of the most athletic goalies in between the pipes. He can make many big saves, but he can't make all of them. And that's what he did to himself. He couldn't make all of them because he was overplaying shots.
Yeah, he put himself out of place way too often, and I think that happens with Jonathan Quick. He's very athletic, so he tries to make the exuberant save, and then it ends up backfiring because the puck deflects or it's a fake shot and they pass it across the crease, go east to west, and I think teams are starting to figure that out with Jonathan Quick.
I think one of the years, I can't remember which year, one of the years they won the Cup, he was more sound. He was more in the net, and his statistics were insanely good because of that. He was still quick, but he played it more, more into the crease, and it just helped his game a lot more. He needs to be more safe, in my opinion. But the rest of the team, I don't know what happened to these guys, especially early on in the series. I thought the first two games, in my opinion, weren't as exciting. A lot of these Kings didn't step up their game until later. Lucic was pretty good all series, I would say. But Carter, Kopitar was all right, and it got better as the series went on. Doughty wasn't as dynamic as he could be. Carrying out the puck, making plays. He wasn't doing that. And again, a lot of these guys had to play goaltender as well, making butt saves behind Quick. So it was tough. And again, Dustin Brown. I'm not a fan of Dustin Brown, but he's still the captain and the heart of this team. And when he plays on an edge, he plays a lot better as well. His team builds from that. When you're making those big hits, the team builds from that and they play better. And he was invisible. Where was Tyler in this series? I didn't see Toffoli in this series at all. He was invisible. Again, he's younger, but he was their main scorer during the season. He needs to step his game up.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Kings got put out in 5, because they had pretty much their whole roster just didn't show up to play hockey.
Yeah, and then Brent Burns was Brent Burns in the series. He was outstanding, and the rest of them followed suit as well.
Yeah,
Pavelski, Thornton, Couture, the list goes on. Even Marleau had some great goals.
Yeah, and Jonas Donskoy, the rookie, the guy that looks like he's 29 years old as a rookie. He's going to be a pretty decent player, and he's already showing it now that he's great depth. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the protege defeated the master.
That is
Martin
right.
Jones beat Quick. A lot of people didn't talk about it. We were talking about this just between ourselves, Paul. Nobody was talking about Jones versus Quick. They started talking about it a little bit near the end, I think, but not enough. He learned from him, and he outplayed the teacher easily in that series. Jones looked solid.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking Reimer might be playing some games, but the way the Kings played and the way Jones played, he deserves to be between those pipes, and he could take the Sharks far. So what do you think? If the Sharks play the Preds, will the Sharks sweep the Preds?
I don't think they'll sweep them. I think it'll go 5.
Yeah, same here. They could sweep them, in my opinion, but maybe they'll go 5. Ducks versus Sharks, though. What do you have?
I think the Ducks will turn it up. I think this will be a big wake-up call. Just like at the beginning of the year was a big wake-up call for the Ducks. I think this will wake them up, and they'll turn it up another notch, and I think they'll go to the conference finals.
Yeah, I'm going with Ducks in 7, just because San Jose is playing that well. But Ducks, unless it's a very easy team, well, even the Preds were expected to be maybe easier, but they take a while in each series to beat a team for some reason. They sit back a little bit in some series, but when they need to, they win. So that's why I'm going with Ducks in 7. I'm easily going with Ducks, and I said before, I think Ducks are going to go to the finals.
Yeah, you're not worried about that with their Game 7 coming up Wednesday?
I still think they're going to win. And I figured I think I even said for that in the first round that it might go 6 games, maybe not 7 against the Preds. But yeah, I think Ducks should win Game 7, and yeah, I think the Ducks will beat the Sharks as well in 7.
Okay, so
All right,
let's go a scenario here. The Ducks lose on Wednesday. They play
Mm-hmm.
Predators, Sharks. You
Yep.
will take the Sharks to win that game, correct?
Yeah, to win Sharks versus the Preds. Yeah, gonna go with Sharks easily in 5 games. Yeah.
Okay, so then the Sharks and the Blues in the conference finals. Who do you think is going to win?
Oh, you want to go all the way now?
Yeah, I want
All right,
just because if Anaheim gets put out, then you need a new cup winner, right?
All right. Well, Blues versus the Sharks. Whew. Oh man, now that you put it into my head, now I gotta think about this for a bit.
Putting you on the spot here.
I really think I'm gonna go more favorite there. I actually think the Sharks might win, but I want the Blues to go far because they are one of my favorite teams, and I want them to go to the finals.
Okay, so then you got the Blues versus the Caps. Who would you take there?
Oh yeah, Caps. Caps are gonna win.
All right, so if Anaheim gets put out, you're now going Caps all the way.
Yeah. I
Right,
had the
cool.
Ducks winning it all against the Caps.
Yeah.
But if the Caps face a San Jose or a St. Louis or for sure a Dallas, the Caps are going to win.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Yep. All right. What else do we have on top? We have one more thing. Paul, give us a little update of Jablam Junior Hockey.
Yeah, I'm just going to run through it real quick. WHL, both 2-0 series. Brandon's leading over Red Deer. Red Deer's the Memorial Cup host, so they're for sure going. So I think they're kind of taking their foot off the gas pedal. So, and Brandon Wheat Kings are just dominant. So I think they'll take the series pretty easy. Seattle and Kelowna, I think the Thunderbirds are going to take this one pretty easy too. They're up 2-0 as well. So those series might end pretty quickly. And speaking of series ending quickly, Niagara Ice Dogs are just dynamite. They're up 3-0 on the Barrie Colts in the OHL Eastern Conference finals, so they're about to sweep. And then London beat Erie tonight, as we're recording this, 5-1. So they're up 3-0. So both those conference finals, could be swept, which is crazy because then the next series will end in maybe May 4th next week. A week from now will end, and then they have 12 days off till Memorial Cup on the 19th, which is a crazy amount of time to wait to go to the Memorial Cup. So that'll be interesting to see what OHL team comes out of that to make it to the Mem Cup. And then the QMJHL is wide open right now. Ruin, Noranda, and Moncton are tied 1-1. Actually, Ruin just won Game 3 tonight, 5-1, so they're up 2-1 in the series. And then Shawinigan is now up 2-1 on St. John, so real tight battles there. They might go 7 games each in those series. I think Ruin Noranda will come out of their series looking pretty good as well. So that's a quick Jablam Junior update for everybody.
And I'll give you a quick update that we have a playoff team in Toronto that's trying to go far. It's the Marlies. They're already up 2-0. All they need is one more win because it's a best of 5 series in the first round in the AHL. And the Marlies 4-1 and 3-0 in the first 2 games. Game 3, first game at home, is April 28th. That's Thursday. So if they win that, they go straight to the second round. And hopefully they can go all the way and win the Calder Cup.
Yeah, guess who's leading the OHL playoffs right now?
I'm going to go with Nylander.
No, your boy, Mitchell Marner.
Oh, Marner.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, yes, of course, yes, OHL.
And then it's Marner, Taychuk, LeBlanc, Dvorak. Their London Knights first
London
line
Knights.
has 89 points.
I think we've talked about this before, but London hockey, the Knights, have so many great alumni. This team is built with history and players in the NHL that have killed it.
Oh, they're Mem Cup favorite every single year. It's unreal.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's it for this episode. Check out next episode as well. We're we're going to have part 2 of the season awards. We're going to review what happened in the draft lottery. Again, check it out Saturday night, 7 p.m. before Game 2 of the Pens and Caps. And we're going to review what's going on in the playoffs in round 2. There'll be a few games already done. And we're also going to do a compare. We'll figure out which players or teams will compare against each other. Check it out. See you then, folks.
Bye.